We have just witnessed a gigantic shift in the cryptocurrency market. $10 trillion asset management Vanguard is going to allow their customers, 50 million of them, to participate in spot XRP, Solana, Bitcoin, and Ethereum products. This is the CEO and chairman of Vanguard in 2024 basically saying they're never going to allow this to happen unless the market changes. They just announced this, so I'm wondering what has changed for them. Let me play the clip. I want to give you a ton of additional information. We're also going to play this clip by All In Crypto and Smoke Dog discussing why Blackrock hasn't entered the spot XRP space. And is this move from Vanguard going to push Blackrock into following suit? I also have a ton of additional XRP related content, so stay through to the end. Let's just get into this.
Bitcoin ETFs. Question came in, hey, we know you're not offering one. Have you changed your mind? What would it take for you to change your mind? We don't plan to, and we don't we're not going to change our minds around this unless the asset class changes.
Yep.
Before why? First,
unless the asset class changes. So you ask yourself, what has changed? And I think it has something to do with the NASDAQ talking about blockchain and tokenized settlement. Those announcements just really started to pop off in the last few weeks here, and it's starting to look like the crypto market is finally entering this phase of institutional adoption. We've seen what retail can bring to the tables. Now it's time for the $10 trillion, $12 trillion asset managers to come in and allow these products across all of their brokerage platform. This is going to be a huge move in the days to come. I want to just play the rest of this though.
Well, we don't believe it belongs. Like a Bitcoin ETF belongs in a long-term portfolio. Someone's saving for their retirement. It's a speculative asset.
That's exactly it.
And the funds that we offer invest in asset classes that actually have underlying cash flow. So like we mentioned stocks, you're buying the forward earnings of a company.
That's right.
And that bond, right,
has coupon and principal payments.
Yeah, you're going to pay me something for lending you the money.
Exactly.
Right. So they both can be valued, and that's for us. We understand why they would rise up in a portfolio and the role they will play, and we can model them. Something like Bitcoin is just too volatile, and it's not a store of value. It hasn't been, and it's very volatile. When stocks got hammered in recent crises, that Bitcoin went right with them, and so it is speculative. Really tough to think about how it belongs in a long-term portfolio.
Bitcoin is the biggest distraction to what is going on in the crypto market right now. They want everybody participating and focused on this shiny gold thing, while the rest of the financial market infrastructure of the entire world is going to basically run on Ethereum, the XRP ledger, Solana, XLM, and a few other chains. This is a big deal. Vanguard finally caves, will now allow spot crypto ETFs trading on brokerage platforms. The reason this is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, Vanguard is now lets its 50 million brokerage clients trade ETFs and mutual funds that primarily hold select cryptocurrencies, explicitly including Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and Solana on its platform. These are going to be third-party crypto funds. Vanguard still has no plans to launch its own crypto ETFs, but will carry the product. So what is this saying here? Vanguard isn't interested in launching a Vanguard spot Bitcoin or a Vanguard spot XRP, but they want to allow their 50 million brokerage clients to have access to other funds, because if they don't, these customers move their money to another place that they can get access, and Vanguard doesn't want to become the $10 trillion asset manager to a $5 trillion asset manager. They want to be able to offer this to their clients, and they are going to move heaven and earth now to do this. The direct implications for XRP, we talked about this briefly on another video. Any existing or future XRP ETFs or mutual funds that meet Vanguard's criteria can now be bought or sold inside standard Vanguard brokerage accounts and retirement accounts alongside stocks and bonds. Now, if you want to go through all of this information, I put a video out on December 1st. It'll cover this into greater detail, but I did want to move on with some of this other stuff. I also wanted to take a look at who else is now competing against Vanguard that hasn't launched any of these products. Several very large Vanguard peers still have no spot XRP or spot Bitcoin products of their own, even though some may allow clients to trade third-party crypto ETFs. Below are some of the biggest. So here are some of the just a gigantuan institutions. State Street, you have Capital Group, right? This is 4.7 trillion, 2.8 to 2.9 trillion. Allianz Global Investors 2.5 trillion, Amundi 2.3 trillion, BNY Investment, Ripple Partner 2 trillion, Invesco 1.8 to 1.9 trillion. Eventually, all of these institutions will be offering the same things, and this will just give greater access to the entire world to be able to participate. And somebody put this together years ago. I've seen this so many times, but you do, like, it all comes from Vanguard, right? And it has connections here to American Express, Accenture, CME, Santander, Temenos, PNC, Blackrock here, HSBC, Berkshire Hathaway, Bank of America, Alphabet, right? BNY Mellon's here, MUFG, SBI, Mizuho, JP Morgan Chase, R3, Swift. It's all going to be connected here through Vanguard. Let me go ahead and play this here. This is the thoughts on why BlackRock hasn't yet filed a spot XRP or Solana ETF.
Nick, why do you think BlackRock hasn't filed for an XRP ETF or a Solana one for that matter of fact?
I would certainly say that regulations, liquidity are certainly some of the concerns of the top players in this market. And that's something that I've seen documented as well, that BlackRock is simply waiting for these markets to become more liquid as they typically generate the most volume. The BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is the highest performing ETF. It's the most successful product that they have. And was enabled through Bitcoin's liquidity because of all the products already built around it. XRP is now positioned behind Bitcoin and Ethereum as the next best XRP ETF demand-wise and institutional interest-wise because of its real-world use case, because of all of the interest that's around XRP and its global presence and its reputation. This is going to position XRP to be, or the XRP ETFs, when they're all launched, to be a popular product on Wall Street, a popular product to institutional investors. And when that, I would say that hype, that interest on Wall Street starts to begin around XRP as an asset, we can see the bigger players start to step in as the liquidity of XRP will be increased and the notoriety around the asset on Wall Street within the conversations of institutional investors will become higher than they already are once it's further legitimized by a BlackRock XRP ETF or any other XRP-based product that BlackRock decides to participate in, which is already a reality through Ondo and Wormhole. There's several ways that BlackRock can access the XRP ledger through third-party integration. So the interest in the XRP ledger already exists. So the likelihood of an XRP ETF from top players like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street all remain high.
You start to wonder, does Vanguard know something that we don't about BlackRock, right? You would imagine that the CEO and the chairmans have these teams and they probably talk across, right? Because they are the two biggest asset managers on the planet. I would imagine there's some collaboration there. And if Vanguard understands that sooner or later here that BlackRock is going to announce an IXRP ETF, Vanguard is definitely going to offer that to their clients along with other products. So I think there's more going on here behind the scenes, and I wouldn't be shocked if you hear an announcement from BlackRock, over the coming months. I don't know how long it's going to take and when this, nobody really knows, but there's now more pressure on BlackRock to deliver because if their clients can't get access to it and Vanguard's can, the money can go both ways, right? It can leave BlackRock and go to Vanguard, it can leave Vanguard and go to BlackRock. Everyone's going to offer these products eventually. It's just a matter of when are they going to offer them. All right. And then Federal Reserve Vice Chair Michelle Bowman says bank regulators are working on crypto stablecoin rules. All right. So how this works is you pass the bill, it goes to the House and the Senate, that goes to the president's desk, he signs it, and then the regulators have to do the rulemaking after that bill has been passed, and that can take a few years. And I think that's what you're seeing with this. This signals that the US bank regulators are about to move from high-level legislation to concrete rulebook that decides which stablecoins survive and which banks can issue them and how deeply crypto integrates with the banking system. What Bowman is really saying here is Michelle Bowman is the Fed's vice chair for supervision, is preparing to tell Congress that the Fed and other bank regulators are actively drafting stablecoin rules in response to the Genius Act, the new federal stablecoin law signed into earlier this year. Exactly what I was telling you. Exactly what I've been saying. If you've never shown up to a live chat, I go through as many questions as I can, and I also give you a ton of information in that chat. We usually go for about 2 hours, and a lot of people ask about this stuff, and I've been telling everybody basically how all of this works for quite some time. It's just fun to just see it play out in the way that you've researched it and you understand it too, which means we've been kind of right spot on this whole time about all of this stuff, and it just speaks to a larger, ability to understand all of this information at scale and deliver it to you in a tight package. And I hope you're learning. I hope you're growing. And my job here, my goal here is to make you smarter than 99.9% of the rest of the crypto market. And I feel like we're doing a very good job. Her recent speeches stress giving banks a level playing field with fintechs. Level playing field. Have you seen that before? With fintech and crypto firms so they can compete. They can compete in digital assets while meeting the safety and soundness. Likely direction of the rules under the Genius Act, only federally approved banks, credit unions, and qualified non-bank issuers can run payment stablecoins, and they must hold fully backed, very liquid assets like treasury bills or bank deposits with strict disclosure, AML, no yield requirements. The new rules Bowman is talking about will define how banks actually do this in practice, capital treatment, risk management, wallet and custody standards, and how tokenized deposits sit next to on-chain stablecoins. And then, of course, impact of issuers and DeFi. We don't really need to get into that, but if you want to pause it and read through the rest of this, please do. I want to get into a few more things here before the video is over. So Open Eden says, we're proud to announce the completion of our latest strategic investment round with participation from Ripple, Lightspeed, Faction, Gate Ventures, and a few others. Just more value going into Ripple here through investment. And I did think this was very, I wanted to show you this, right? I didn't want to say very valuable. I just said valuable. All right. Why the global financial system is swapping internet rails for blockchain. I think this is going to be very valuable. No, I'm just kidding.
Now what you're going to have, and what's already happening, is a transition from the traditional financial system on internet rails and servers and databases into the global financial system and the US financial system into blockchain-based, blockchain format transactions. And so the blockchain industry and the Oracle network industry and the smart contract industry right now is kind of about the early stages of what this is all about. So in the internet analogy, there was a period when the internet was about email, and that was the main use case of the internet. And if you talk to people about the internet, they would be like, that's email. And it was kind of synonymous. In our industry today, if you talk to people about blockchains and Oracle networks and smart contracts, they'll say that's cryptocurrencies. That's what that is. But that is just the very early iteration of what our technology in our industry does. The next iteration is the reformatting of the current internet-based financial system into the blockchain-based financial system.
Web 3.0. That's why they call it Web 3.0. Imagine all of this infrastructure now moving to blockchain, and this is where all of this value is going to live and transact and flow seamlessly across borders instantaneously, just like when we send pictures and emails and silly GIFs or GIFs, depending where you're from and how you say it, to our friends, right? And it's powerful. It's very powerful. And then Chad did post this. We got about $40 million per day, looking pretty solid. We got 22 million on Friday, locking up 11 million XRP. And I think we got about 40 million.81 today on Monday as the markets closed into spot XRP products. Every single day, we inch closer to them running out of OTC. And here they come on the open exchanges, and that is the volume we're going to want. I thought this was valuable. This is specifically about Bitcoin, but it speaks to a larger thing that's going on here. Larry Fink and Blackrock are having open conversations with leaders in the crypto space. This one's about Michael Saylor, but I would imagine Larry Fink has probably either had a conversation with Brad Garlinghouse or will have a conversation with Brad Garlinghouse about what Ripple and XRP are doing. Obviously, if Blackrock's already in bed with Ripple and Ondo and some of these collaborations with Wormhole, they might have already had these conversations, but let's play it.
And we used to bring in all these different people who were big believers in it, like Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies. I mean, Michael came to our office when the stock was in the teens, but he was a huge believer in it, transformed his company. I mean, I could just say all these different people came in and talked. And then we became, we became a leader in working with the SEC and trying to move forward in this. And fast forward now a little more than 18 months when we first started creating a Bitcoin ETF. Today IBIT is $86 billion.
Listen, IBIT is the most popular product that BlackRock is offering right now. And I'd imagine if they do launch an XRP product, that will be too. I was doing a double take here, right? This looked like maybe a painting, and they just punched holes right through it. I was like, I hope this is not a good work of art. Anyways, something random. I hope you guys are learning. I hope you guys are growing. Thank you for being here. If you got anything out of the video, you can like it. You can share the video. You can leave a comment down below. Either way, appreciate your time. I will see you next one. I'm Crypto Sensei. Aloha.